Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks, and today I wanted to talk about freely offered service, positive systems, truth transparency, I guess, and how and what it really looks like to be operating in this positive alignment, like I like to reference it, in service to others, which is sort of more commonly known to everyone, service to others versus service to self. Today, my angle of approach is going to be a bit of a personal one, and I'm going to just be kind of off the top of my head going with this as more of a vlog attempt. I usually don't do videos like this too much because there is a level of readiness that I like to offer when I click on the camera and when I make videos, usually. My personal intention is usually something that is of a sharing from an educational standpoint, sort of teach learning kind of content and media that offers learning. This is learning in a different angle and can be more complicated to explain, planned out, which is why I'm hoping speaking out in this more personal vloggy kind of way might be beneficial. But it's also kind of awkward and might be full of pauses and me thinking. So sorry for that at the beginning here. And thank you for bearing with me. If you do choose to listen and you care to hear, thank you. What I am hoping to offer out and sort of comb through right now is how and what this new earth, new systems, new sort of vibe that we're all sensing is coming is really going to look like, is really going to hopefully honor and evolve into. I understand so much, and it's so difficult for even me, even right now, to detach from the precipice of the sort of external matrix overlay scene, the propaganda plastered all over all the screens, and the hip happenings of the today world of this sort of external semi-global community that they're attempting to really portray as, the next step, the go-to. The theys and the that and the whole thing of what the construction is. I am going to try my hardest here to not even talk about. And that, my friends, is the catch-22. It's the pivot point in power. It's our most important job right now, and also a super difficult task. Something that continuously is this bounce back reverberation sort of focus that you have to grab away and that you have to turn your lens of observation and attention away from time and time again. It's a practice. It's a continual effort. And for me, the breath reminder, breath work, meditation, having had strong practice for 10 years or so right now, before trying to get into this, that's been crucial for me. I feel crucial for lots of us as to why we've been doing that for so long, readying ourselves. And many have been on the path even longer than I have, right? I'm not trying to say I'm even a forerunner of this. But for my lifetime, for my age spectrum that I'm a part of, and the groupings that I do believe are sort of these generational cyclic pulling back of the layers of the onion, or adding on a filter even, it's difficult to have the verbiage to describe the happenings. But those of us who understand, we get it. And I'm hoping to be speaking to others who get it right now. And my apologies to those who don't. But like I've said about the matrix overlay and the negative systems, try my hardest to sort of not pay attention to that right now, and not pay attention to those who are lower on the learning curve or steps or whatever, to not get entangled in having to explain the bigger picture and the longer games that so many of us are already well aware of. And I mean, most of us are so well aware that it's cracking through the mainstream right now. So if you're part of the mainstream, and it's just part of your cracking opens, welcome. But for now, I don't have the time, respectfully. So what I want to just speak on and bring forth is going to kind of be a very pigeonholed offering that's going to be to select viewers and audience. But if you do get it, and you're with it, and you understand the importance of focus and this sort of battle of the mind and the spirit and the body that's taking place on so many levels right now, then you get the work that in the importance of taking our perspective, our intention and attention, light and love energy that we each have as conscious creators, away from those sort of external plastered out versions, from the collective reflective, from things that don't really have anything to do with our direct real worlds and lives, that we could just cut them out and focus fully on what's in front of us. And as I'm doing that, and as I've been doing this practice, so much positive blossomings are taking place for me. And with that is its own level and its own complete worlds that I can be completely taken in, and that can take up all of my time and days. And so it becomes very easy and very an adaptive function, to not pay attention to the negative things anymore. And that creates more space and place for you and me to do our own work on what we're really here, what we're called for, what we're placed in this lifetime to do. Because I do really feel, and I know, when I go into my own direct world, I have great value. Everything in my life that I'm involved in, the direct people of my immediate family, the people that I interact with on a daily basis, even strangers that I bump into across my days, those things have purpose. They matter. They matter to me, and they matter to God Source Creator, and they matter to the whole picture that's happening, because each part is an integral piece of the whole. You can't have the whole show and the whole movie, the whole picture created, right, without all the extras, without the background scenery, without all of the equipment and all of the things that come into play that aren't just the actors that are seeming to be the point of attention. And where's the point of attention and who's watching? What is really what comes into play when we start living our lives in this conscious way, when we start understanding the great responsibility and role of the observer that we each do play in our lives. And then that also, that external availability and always conscious, constant reminder that God, Source, Creator is also living through you, watching life through you. It's a co-creation of life here. There's a promise of commitment and a communion space that gets incorporated in conscious life, in your conscious being at all times. For me, this notion that that's a place to get to, because it's so big, to really work and to take that notion into your everyday moments is huge. And for me, I have seen it plastered, the writing on the wall, for a long time. It's so large. And I get it 100%, just like I understand 100%, the mathematics written down. 1 + 1 is 2. But in lies the rub is to what are you counting? Because when you start get off the blackboard or the piece of paper of just seeing 1 dot plus 1 dot, and then seeing 2 dots on the other side, and then understanding the math of the plus sign and the equal sign and the vocabulary words, what's happening in the math sentence there, and that the number 1 plus the number 1 gives you the number 2, right? Those are all things that we learn in this contextual, very frenetic kind of way. But in comes experiential learning. In comes understanding and incorporating the newness that it's not just the number 1 plus the number 1 is 2. And it doesn't just mean that this 1 dot and this 1 dot then come together and these 2 dots are 2. But it's understanding that anything can be, we can count 1 car plus 1 car and have 2 cars. We can count, 1 gemstone plus another gemstone and have 2 gemstones. But we can also, as creator consciousness, then once we've learned, it's a variability. It's a placeholder. It's a concept that I'm doing, counting and adding things to summation of a total, of quantity. In comes more verbiage, in comes more understanding with this experiential gathering that we've learned, right? But sometimes it takes the gathering of many things. Maybe you need to see cars and pine cones and penguins and owls and all of these different things, coming together, seeing one of them and then another one of them, bring them together to 2, and one of those and coming together in 2, to start even grasping the concept of what's happening. Because there's so many of these different variabilities, and yeah, they're doing the same work of summation to a total, but because they're happening in different subjective, external things, and you think, that's different because it's an owl, that's different because it's pine cones, that's different because it's books, that's different because it's a dot, it's different because it's human beings. And yes it is, and there's many different things that could happen within that could make those each their own unique points of what you're actually doing there with those, and the potentials of what could be done with those too. But at the same time, you're also just simply learning that parallel exercise of the summation, of adding, of bringing together 2 things. And learning that, every time I do that, even though it's in these different forms, it's still the same task. And I think really, like, there's this is only one small example, right, that we do these kind of things in, and that things might need to be done through. Or it could be conversely the opposite way, that you've observed something that you need to break it down to learn it completely. And for me, seeing that life is conscious, we live life consciously, live life awake, those kind of mantras and the teachings. I've been reading them, I've been combing through them, I've been going over them, but needing to do that real bringing together in my own world, in my own different ways, time and time again, to see if it is true, if it works, if if it does come together or not. And will every time that I choose to count 1 plus 1, will it always come up to 2? And also, the great version here, I'll finally bring in to just implant the energy alchemy sort of light and shadow work of it, is that as the eternal student grows and as you become from just the beginner kindergartner level into more of an adept student, 1 plus 1 to 2, the comparison, say, of bringing these two things together and realizing there's 2 of them, you start to notice, or have always even noticed, and can't bring them together in the first place because they're opposites. They're the extreme representations of the opposing points of this harmonization in between the 2, male and female, coming together to make the whole, right? And so sometimes when we're trying to pair together these, they seem like they almost don't go together because sometimes they seem like they're polar opposites. And other times they harmonize well and yin-yang in this great truth way that you can easily see that they're a pair to come together. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a rebuttal of things, and you can't really get to that nice magnetic harmonization that does create the momentum to bring them together for many different reasons. And so the work of the student sort of comes together, putting these different magnets sort of together to find where do they seek, where do they push apart, where will they come together and bring in mental, physical, and spiritual ways, And we're talking about dynamic relationships here. I'm talking about metaphysical evolution of learning lessons, of light and shadow work, of dealing with strong emotions, of harmonizing anger and peace within yourself, with trying to find a harmonious ground between anxiety and irritation and comfortability, or frustration and rest. There's the workings that we learn, and we learn to explain. 1 dot plus 1 dot comes together for 2 dots. That's the simple version of it, but it's a template of generic teaching that we embody here. And it has taken me so many times of sort of fumbling around to get that true notion and feeling and the working of it, that to me has now pulled the lens back and the veil, the layer, to seeing that it's the seeking of truth, honestly. That is the continual, sorry, I've just noticed like my light is terrible all of a sudden. My light doesn't want to stand on its own now. There we go. Sort of, even though it's still very dark. I think we lost the sun outside. Coming back to the practice and coming back to what feels like truth is the whole thing of it, though. Just noticing that it's come away from whatever is you're seeking, that's in itself is the hardest work of it. The bringing back to the center, the coming back to the point, the remembering. Oh, yes, I'm here for that. Oh, yeah, I promised I was going to keep up with this. Oh, right, I was, working on creating a freer flow. That acknowledgement of a distortion having happened or an incongruency, and then seeking what the correction is the true work at hand. It is the way that we actually work to ever find and incorporate, like I was saying before, that sort of opposing parts and bringing them together, finding harmonious pieces in the middle. And depending on the work and depending on what kind of feedback you're even capable of listening to and getting, the path to finding the truth can be simple or difficult. And like I said at the start of this video, having years of maintaining a practice of listening and learning what it means to listen to myself and to give myself time in different practices like meditation and yoga and breath work and these sort of disciplines, self-discipline practices, fasting, keeping up with routines and schedules, setting goal for yourself and hitting it. All of these different ways that we practice commitment. You practice returning back. That's, you know, the strengthening that needs to take place. And then the alchemy work you really soar through, you fly through. Just like we say in yoga, you know, you need to tighten the core, you need to work those active core muscles. And once those core muscles get used to igniting and working, you really get into great balancing poses or whatever kind of things you want to seek. You fly in them. They're effortless almost, because you've built in the foundation. And that in itself is really such a superficial, external example of that. And we can use that as heavy lifting to remind us when we are in these more metaphysical poses, situations, and exercises of how to move through them, of how to anchor in and remember that it's a template. All of these things are the same generalities, and that I can use the breath. I can just come back to my space of neutrality and observation, and I will uncover what's meant for me at this stage and place, and peel back the layer that I need to, and do the work that I'm ready to do at, and then rest, and give myself a pat on the back, and then reflect on the work that I've done, and the little kind of step forwards that you've made, or the wiggle room that you've made, or even a step backwards. It's still space made. Reflect on the space made, and then get ready to try again. That in itself is really what I have learned and incorporated into positive systems, and what made me love and will make me and continue to help me to return to talking about systems and getting into that sort of angle of teaching and offering the series on the systems, and writing workbooks and wanting others to understand about what it really is, or what it really could be, not what it really is, because I hate to even have this sort of premise, but understanding and owning the energies and the available to us, and makes it what it is. It makes it true. And once you get it going, it's undeniable, and it serves itself and its own purposes. So and you feel the positive momentum created. It's undeniable. Just like you feel more truth, you feel more real of yourself. More clarity comes along with that kind of work over time. And subsequently, I will say, of course, with more listening and observation and more clarity comes more noticing. And the noticing of things that perhaps you haven't wanted to always notice. Or perhaps things that you've chosen a little while ago to turn a blind eye to. And the bringing up of those things comes along with the responsibility to hold yourself accountable for them, to view them in an honest light with as much unconditional love and an unbiased acceptance for what they are. And sometimes that can just be the noticing and saying, oh wow, I forgot about that for a while. And not having to go and pick at that or create a solution for it, but just, I see it, I see you, I remember. And that's that. That is the work. And other times it comes with an actionary sort of thing that, you know right away is the response that you're going to take, whether it's initiative or some sort of direct fulfillment of something that's been put off, or whether it's more of an emotional forgiveness kind of thing, to let it go and to say, oh, well, moving on to let it go and move in better luck next time. Or, forgetting of the shame and the guilt and these sort of negative emotions that get built up around why we put it off, or why we forgot about it, or why we've turned a blind eye to that thing for so long. And that's a healing practice in itself. And owning that healing practice as honestly as we can, that's the next level of shadow work. That's the true adept alchemist. It's not saying that we'll never have those things, or hoping they never appear anymore, or thinking and going in this relentless kind of way to try to purge and clear everything out of there all at once so that you could be some kind of extra special enlightened being. Because that in itself is a false framework. It's expectations set into the future, which really we shouldn't be even casting out if we are living in true alignment of real present moment, if we are really offering out free service, living positively aligned in service to others, and owning this communion space of co-creation with creator source and our own beautiful creator consciousness. If we're truly honoring that and embodying that in all present moments as best as we can, then we'll never have time to be even projecting, casting out, forecasting for future times and setting up parameters. We'll get there when we get there, and what will happen will. We understand that when we do that kind of preliminary architecture and we sketch too much, or even sketch at all, it creates undue pressure in the future space, the imagination space, in the external area that everybody else has a right to as well. And it gets chaotic and loud out there. And it's also infringing. And that's a whole other aspect of trying to learn and live with positive alignment, owning free service, and trying to be this sort of freely offering system of you, is this promise, the truth that you work to align to in service to others, respects sovereign boundary of isness and seeks to not infringe on others, because it knows its great truth that it does not wish to be infringed upon. And in that notion and in the desire to not be infringed upon, I create the handshake out there. I initiate the service, the free service, and the promise. I put out the compromise in the middle ground and say, and don't, and work my hardest in full intention not to ever infringe on another being. Whether I think that it's a positively aligned infringement that's going to help them beneficially in some kind of way, and it's a service to others in this extension here, in X, Y, and Z way, no, that cannot even be in your handshake extended out, because when we're extending out, well, guess what? There's strings attached. You're waiting for somebody to offer you a grasp back. You're waiting. It's dangling. Pretty soon your arm's going to get tired. Even if you do a lot of push-ups, even if you're really strong, eventually that hand waiting out there is getting tired. And your consciousness is also bored, because you're sitting there and you're wasting your now moments for future happenings. So your consciousness is out there also infringing, because it's seeking out to get seeking out to grasp attention and from others. So it's flickering out a negative, debt-based message. I need your light. Does anybody see me out there? Trying to catch the eye of anybody across the room, right? Because when you catch their eye across the room, you're going to give the hand a little thing so they know you're waiting for the handshake. And that's not living in the moment. That's waiting. And if we realize and we actually opened our eyes and said, or opened our hearts and our spiritual eyes and realized that Creator Source, Jesus, your higher self, your grandmother, your ancestor, whoever you want to see, already here like this, holding it, like they're the one shaking it, and they're already looking, staring right in your eyes, staring out of your eyes. We're here. We're alive. We want to go walk across the party. Go find somebody. Go move your feet around. And instead of just standing there looking, casting out this thing, hoping someone's going to come to you and grasp your hand, put your arm down and go make a conversation. Look inside there and say, oh, I love X, Y, and Z. I have an interest in this and that. That person over there, looks like they have a similar interest to me. So I'm going to go speak to them about that interest. The intention behind your actions, the intention behind everything that we're doing is what is at play. It is what creates the momentum of the systems that you choose or want to be involved in, that you fuel yourself with, and that you allow to be fuel of you, basically. And so instead, if we just could always remember and try, or when we forget, and I'm not saying that I can't, because I'm saying I've been that, I've realized that for quite a few times now, that, oh yeah, why am I waiting for this handshake out here? I'm already got it. Like, kick it into gear and get going. Because it really is, it's such a large, huge task and truth that for my humble human one life here, I have to take a small bite at it and chew on it for a long time. And then in the chewing on, I kind of forget that because caught up with distractions, caught up with mistakes, caught up with habitual programming, with matrix nonsense, negative liar loops and all kinds of things that anybody and all of us get trapped into. But then you remember, then all of a sudden you realize you're in the party waiting for the handshake again, and you wake up and you say, no, yes, I am. I am alive, I'm going. And it's that in itself that returns to the coming back, and it sounds repetitive, and I almost sound like, I've talked around in a circle. And for myself, sometimes it becomes that. And it's like, how could you forget? But yet, then it does. It happens. And that's why, I've made sort of, and I'll probably share again, I haven't shared it in a little while, but it's like the cycle of light and shadow work. And people, it's becoming now more mainstream. It's breaking out of the sort of hijack that it got into. But we got into this sort of linear thing of thinking that ascension isn't this upward straight sort of motion only, and that we had these sort of dark night of the soul moment, and then you skyrocket into breaking the glass ceiling, and all of a sudden you've had this epiphany and you're enlightened and you're in a whole other place and space, and it's never, and it's totally different. And it's not really that. It is that, but at the same point, it's the dark night of soul rock bottom events. They are continuous kind of things. They happen again and again because it's this spiraling motion instead of a sort of A to B goal that we've been really pigeonholed into thinking it is. And again, I find it funny because I know that, and even in certain aspects in segregated sections of my life, it's very redundant knowledge. And yet, in other times and places, it becomes brand new. it becomes almost like a great epiphany all of a sudden again, because I have now realized that, oh, this adding 1+1 car, you know, I had a van plus a van, and I was bringing those vans together to have 2 vans, and I had a Corvette and a Corvette, and I was bringing those Corvettes together, and I had a station wagon and a station wagon, and a horse and a buggy and a horse and a buggy, and a train and a train and a bus and a bus, and I was bringing all these things together into 2s. And then one day it finally clicked. Oh, but they're all transportation. They're all things to get around in. And I'm just bringing together 1 and 1 and 2 again. And it's like a duh. It's kind of like this, couldn't believe it's the same practice. But that's how it is. That's how it's been for me lately. That's how it's going. I've talked way longer than I thought I was going to talk for. In this sort of little quick vloggy update, spiritual discernment video. Haven't done one in a little while, so thank you for joining and listening here, and sort of the phases that I'm going through. November 30th, 2024. I forgot to say that at the start of this video, but I would like to kind of timestamp my videos here so that we do have, and I have, reference points as to when these are going out and being recorded. Sometimes I don't always even upload them after I record them for a little while, so that's also why I want to get around to really saying when I'm doing these practice points. But I will be circling back around eventually into systems again. I'm doing, through the winter, going to be going through and refining on levels 1 through 6 that I already have on my old channel, creating interactive workbook. I don't really know what I'm going to be calling this kind of thing yet, but it will be similar to the sequential growth one that I've already put out, although I think I will have more templates and worksheet style pages versus just informational reading pages in this systems one. So keep everybody posted on that as the winter goes through in the next couple of months while I hash out and work out what that looks like. Of course, I'll be sure to share the final when it's done. But if you are interested in more about systems, you can check out, I'll put links below to the system series. If you're new to my channel, it's on my old channel, my original A. Marie Speaks. If you're finding me on my new backup channel, A. Marie Speaks 2, thank you so much for finding me over here. Or if you're just linking in through Telegram, you know, cool, always, or BitChute. That everything ends up over on BitChute as well. So if you're a longtime audience over there on BitChute, thank you so much for sticking with me through everything the years. I guess I'm going to leave it there for now. Hoping to speak a little bit more on Christ consciousness and systems. And I'll do a little plug for my own Not Your Average Bible studies here. I'll have another one out tomorrow for Sunday. But that I want to really speak about getting through Matthew, the systems talk that I hear in Jesus' teachings that just is so mind-blowing to me, so parallel to the own teachings that I'm receiving about systems. So be getting into more of that soon. So yeah, keep on the lookout for that if that's interesting to you. I love to hear comments and replies. Feel free to send me emails if that's your thing, or you can put comments down below if you want everybody to see. That's always nice. Hope you're having wonderful days, and I will catch you next time.